What's up, everybody? We are so excited to have this family reunion with the Gathering for Justice. As many of you know, we are celebrating 20 years today. Today is the 20th anniversary of the Gathering, and a lot of us OGs are here. And so I'm just gonna kick it off to y'all. I know there's a prompt, so whoever wants to go. My name's Carmen Perez. I've had the privilege and honor of leading the organization since 2010. But these are some of the folks that helped build the Gathering for Justice. I mean, it is such an honor to have our OG family, our Justice League family, our new family. And it's just, I gotta say, when, seeing y'all's faces and then seeing Shaka jump on, I was like, yo, that's like the OOG. He was facilitating our like retreats back in the day. Oh my God. So I'm super happy to be with all of y'all, but I'm just gonna like pass it on to y'all so we could have in the Latino community, we call it a charla, a conversation, some talk. So, yeah. To this space and to this movement, and it is so great to be back with the family. This is like a it's like, you got the OGs and then you got the like new babies, you know what I'm saying? So it's really amazing. Happy to have all of you on, but I'm gonna pass it to y'all and take it away.
Yeah, guys, sorry if I'm a little bit. Yeah, guys, sorry if I'm a little bit. Yeah, guys, sorry if I'm a little bit. Yeah, guys, I'm a little bit. Yeah.
The remix. I'm gonna kick it off. I think that Shaka, me and Curtis represent some of the OGs along with C. Perez. 2005 is when the Gathering of the Youth in Epps, Alabama occurred, where prior to the Gathering of the Youth, Mr. B had the Gathering of the Elders, which was in Atlanta, Georgia. And so that's when I met all of the amazing Shakas and Curtises and Malias and Anasas and Hatims and Bo Taylor, may he RIP.
Rest in
Um,
peace.
I was there with Rob Biko Baker and the poets Muhib Dair and Kwabanon Nixon, Kahari and One Hood with Paradise and with Jasiri. So many amazing, the Justins, right? I can go on and on about the brethren. Me and Carmen, we were the pups of the group. So I think that me and Carmen at Epps didn't say a word. We just sat in silence as the elders and the youth kind of like pushed back of where we were, what mistakes were made from the civil rights movement, just from the movement in the past between the Panthers and our elders, and where our young people were in that space in 2005. And so it was such an honor and a blessing just to be in the room with my comrades who were fighting the fight now and the elders from the past fight. And so a little bit about me, I didn't know who Mr. B was, really. I just thought Mr. B was from Deo. I was excited to meet Diane Nash. Coming from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Diane Nash was from Chicago, and at 18 at Fisk University, led the Freedom Rides after they were bombed. And when the United States government gave her pushback and told her to end the Freedom Ride, she said that we signed our death certificates before we hopped on the bus. And so I wanted to meet Diane Nash. And so for some reason, Mr. B selected me and Carmen out of everybody really to like go do the organizing trainings. And so we ended up having like the gathering of the indigenous folks in Onondaga. We had the gathering of the Asians. We had the gathering of the poor whites in Appalachia. And so I ended up getting elders and family from various communities and various ethnicities. And so I learned not to just look at Black and local issues, but I started to look at humanity and started to understand that we all had the same common enemy, which was white supremacy. And so with that, I'll pass it to my brethren Shaka and Curtis to like drop a few gems on them.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in there. Uh, CJ, you really you captured a lot in those few words. When I actually ended up in Washington, D.C. on accident because my guy, Dave Dix, who's a family friend, local guy in Erie, had a good brother in Pittsburgh named Kahari Mosley, who you mentioned earlier. And Dave was like, "Yo, we got to go. You got to introduce you to Kahari." All right, cool. So we drive to Pittsburgh in my like Ford Tempo, and and we drove down to Pittsburgh, and he was like, "Yo, just something going on with the gathering, this new organization, Malia Lazu, out of Mr. Belafonte." I was like you, Deo, like that, Harry Belafonte, and we drove from Erie to Pittsburgh to DC, all impromptu, like just because. And it was, I think, a bit of a divine draw for us, and for me in particular as well. We got there, and we were at some old hotel downtown, and Malia came in. I'd never met her. Oh, hi, hi, hello. And then this bigger than life figure walked in. Mr. Belafonte walked in, and he sat down with us and talked to us, and she said, "Where you guys from?" He said, "I never heard of no Erie," and I had to break it down for him a little bit. Um, it was just amazing to meet him, of course, right? Because that was like the awe of it for me, to be honest. Because when I told my parents about being connected with the gathering, Harry Belafonte, I found out there was a family connection there. That my grandfather, who I never met, my mother's father, who died when she was 4, served in the military with Mr. B in the same platoon, World War II, right? So I never knew my grandfather. And as we were actually in Epps, I'll share this real quick. We were in Epps, and I was kind of sharing that story with Mr. B. It's like, my grandmother told me that she has pictures of you and my grandfather and all this stuff. And I said, I never met him. And he said, "Well, son, I'll be your grandfather now." And so I say that to say, like, that is the kind of person. Not only was he bigger than life and larger than life, and albums and walked the streets with people, and gave his life for the work of the ministry, the work in service of the community, but he was a real person who felt real people, and not just in front of the camera, but next to the fire is where he said that to me. And so my life has been forever changed for the better, being a part of this family and this network. That's all I'll say now, but I just wanted to just kind of jump into deep water with that. Like, this is layers deep, and not just the work, but we built relationship. I haven't seen CJ since I think we were on one of these at the 16 reunion with Carmen and a few of us. But it's like we went back to Epps because there was a real connection. We went back to Onondaga. We went back to, where else did we go?
Albuquerque, Pittsburgh.
We were in Albuquerque. Oh man, the hotel fire! Like, we got
Oakland.
stories.
We had the conference in Oakland.
I think we were in Miami too, weren't we? In a hostel.
Yeah, we were in a hostel in South Beach.
Yeah,
we were in Oakland.
Yeah,
for the conference we had in Oakland. We were all over. So I just wanted to just kind of give a personal note and a deep dive into the kind of work that this was. It's family. It's work. We're changing lives and touching lives, but at the same time, as we touch, we're being touched, and that's something that I've never lost. Even that my different ways of being a part of the gathering, doing my work in my local space and other areas, the family has always been connected. I'm honored to be a part, for sure.
Yeah, I can, as another old head, just add on to that a little quickly. With the work my name is Shaka Barrows. I work with the Burns Institute, and we have been doing this work a long time, addressing racial, racism within the administration of justice. And that's how I actually knew Carmen long before the gathering ever even started. We had been working together through the Community Justice Network for Youth. And Carmen was the leader out in Santa Cruz or in Watsonville, and doing this great work with youngsters who were really, in serious situations. And so then James, who, I just bring James Bell in the room, founder of the Burns Institute, who recently also joined the Ancestors and is no longer with us. But I like to think he's up there with Harry, proud that we're carrying this on. And I remember James, one day coming in like, "Hey man, come talk to me." He was like, I'm at home, I'm in the office, and all of a sudden I get a call, and it's this voice like, "Hey, Mr. Bell, who this is? This is Harry Belafonte. We need you to come to this gathering of all." And so James was like, "Yeah, of course I agreed." He was like, I need to find out what's going on," and he came back on fire, just like everybody else. And so we plugged in and connected. And all of a sudden, trying to pull this giant conference together in Oakland, we had one hell of an experience. I think, it was the first time for a lot of people trying to do something like that all together. Oakland's not the easiest place to pull things off either for its own beautiful reason. But it was a beautiful cultural experience and event, people coming together. And it kicked it off. I mean, we just had an adventure, and that adventure hasn't stopped. There's more generations of folk who are here, and there's elders, Nane Alejandres, Barrios Unidos. There's a lot of elders, I think about Bino Garcia, La Pasita Institute, and all that they do out there. Sylvia Garcia now is taking over, running the show down there. Big ups to them because they held space, we held ceremony, and Albino's backyard. I mean, things that, forever you remain with you, that medicine, that energy for your spirit, your soul. And it's continued on. And so I'm also excited to hear about the other generations, the iterations, the reimagination of even how this has continued so that it's continued to be thriving and vibrant today. So it's just an honor to be with y'all. Like, we could go down memory lane and just turn this into imagine a whole just I'm glad I'm not drinking nothing early out here on the West Coast. I'm just having a little lunch. So, there's nothing in my coffee, but nothing but love for everybody and just really happy to be here. So thank you.
I'm just gonna jump back in. I don't know if I'm like freezing or not, but just to give folks some context, in 2005, during the weekend of Katrina, Mr. Belafonte had gathered the elders to look at child incarceration as a moral imperative. From that convening, they wrote a document, which was to create a covenant to stop child incarceration. But Mr. Belafonte also recognized something, is that a lot of these elders had kind of moved away from the community. And so he had asked for them to bring their mentees. And that's how some of us got invited, right? Like Shaka was talking about James Bow, one of the most respected policy experts around juvenile justice, being at that convening. Nane Alejandres, our elder from Barrios Unidos, I just talked to him earlier today, always trying to get his blessings on any new thing that I do. So many elders, and then us young people being brought to Epps, Alabama, where we couldn't use cell service. We were stuck. Like, we had to talk to each other. And like CJ said, we were, me and CJ were kind of mute. We never really talked for a couple years. But it was led by a woman named Malia Lazu, is who Mr. Belafonte, brought in to lead the organization. And then there was Jonathan Lewis, who was our national training director, and I got brought in as a national organizing director. So under the leadership of Malia, there's a lot of these convenings happening, and then our national convention. And then she went on to go do something else where Mr. B brought me in. So that's kind of like where we are right now with some of these newer folks, is that Mr. Belafonte really tried to concentrate in New York and really see what the young people in labor were doing, right? The young workers. And then out of that, I was like, yo, we got to create our own folks. And so we created Justice League NYC. And so I'm going to crew. I would love to hear their experience.
I don't know, Carmen, you were going in and out a bit. And so I think we missed, at least I missed some of what you were saying. But if I can just throw in real quick and hope this isn't usurping process or anything. One of the most amazing things that this, and I know this is about the work that we do for justice, for community. And I'm maybe being a little bit selfish in some of my comments because the experiences really did change my life. and have continued to make my life better. You know, I'm a pastor, and I was born, you know, raised in kind of a very traditional kind of a, if you know, like the religious Christian religious sector, like holiness, everybody's going to hell, but a couple people kind of an environment. And I was so exposed to the human family beyond my little niche of or little sphere of experience. You talked about, you know, Onondaga, you talked about Epps, you talk about New Mexico, right? And we're in the sweat lodge, which is a different prayer experience. You know what I mean? We're in the teepee, we're um, in spaces and places where I would have never gone on my own. But that's why I said earlier, I felt like it was a divine draw to make me better as I was hopefully doing something to make the world around me better. And so, you know, the name gathering, and not to sound preachery, but the name gathering is really powerful because it wasn't just us coming together, but it was coming together with and for purpose. And I have learned so much in those times we were together. Uh, for example, Shaka came to Erie, did some trainings, and something you said, bro, and I don't even know if this was just a part of your mantra or just your truth came out in that moment or one of the mantras that you share all the time. But you said that even the most violent person isn't violent all the time. Bro, that kind of like blew my mind. You know what I mean? It's a person that's extremely violent here has a son or a daughter that they go home to and love on. They're not violent all the time. So it gave me another level of humanity, even those that are struggling with some of the things that we're doing that are unhealthy for community. And it grew me. You know, it's one of those things where I thought I was helping and I was getting helped. You know, so I'm forever grateful for all of the family. And even I watched from a distance a little bit, you know, some of our younger brothers and sisters, and you have not only picked up the mantle, but you've picked up the pace and the momentum of the work. And so, you know, I'm honored to be, man, CJ, we said it, old heads, be gray. We gray out here, bro.
Hi, everybody. I'm gonna jump in here now. My name is Brandy, and I joined Justice League NYC, and I think it was 2016 or 2017. And the way that I found out about Justice League was because I was working on a documentary, and I had met a couple of Justice League members at different times individually. And so I was like, okay, I keep hearing about this Justice League. I was like, who are they? Like, what exactly do they do? And I remember Googling and I was like, oh, okay, okay. All right, they're about getting stuff done. So I was like, okay. And so I remember filling out like a I'm interested contact form on the website. I think it was the Gathering website. And then they went out to DC and it was a bus ride for the Women's March. And I wasn't able to make that bus ride. So I was like, oh man, that was my chance to like join in with them. And then like months later in 2017, it's when I ended up getting an email saying, are you interested in joining? Here's what you got to do. And so, of course, I applied. They gave like a whole homework assignment. It was like an essay. It was a whole thing. It was a whole song and dance, but it was cool because, you know, that's what I wanted to do. And so when I joined, I pretty much was like, listen, I'm a filmmaker. So use me how you see fit. And I'm just happy to contribute my videography skill set to the organization. But what I want to say is that my time spent with Justice League and the Gathering for Justice definitely had an impact on my life in terms of just what I learned being in the room. There's a certain type of mindset. I want to call it a social justice or a liberated mindset that I definitely developed further. I was already on my own journey in terms of like questioning things in terms of like the government and humanity or inhumanity, and just being around Justice League, I picked up so much just knowledge and terminology, everything from people first language, like how do you speak about people? You say formerly incarcerated individuals, not convicts, right? And just certain types of language, and learning about what cash bail was, and learning how to actually get things done in a non-violent way. And so just pretty much learning and understanding civic engagement and how you could really make a difference um, in terms of policy and just civic action. So I just want to share that I wouldn't be who I am today, honestly, if I was never exposed to that. And just to give a little bit more context, um, I I also teach Black history, and I do it from a standpoint of teaching like civic engagement. And a lot of what I've implemented into those lesson plans and curriculum came from what I learned and took away from the Gathering for Justice. I'm also a nonprofit arts administrator for an organization that is rooted in social justice. And I would not be able to even play my position within that organization if I hadn't been exposed to the Gathering for Justice and Justice League. So I'm really grateful. And one of the things that I love about the organization is that they actually would like get things done. At the time that I had joined, I had been around other organizations. I remember 2016, Trump came into office, so there were several organizations out there that were more so anti-Trump organizations, disguised as, fighting for liberation of Black and brown people. And being around these other organizations, I would like dabble in, dabble out, attend some meetings. When I got to be around Justice League, there was something that was genuine. And what I mean by that is I could tell that everybody was really in it because they cared about humanity, they cared about freedom, they cared about liberation, not because it was the hot topic. And for me, that meant a lot. And that kept me around because I felt that everybody genuinely had a passion for fighting against not just mass incarceration, but fighting against police brutality and so many other injustices. And so I'm really grateful. And it's a part of my journey as my individual personal journey in terms of just becoming the best person that I could possibly become. And and just learning how other ways that I could pretty much fight towards freedom for all Black and brown people. So I just wanted to share that. What's up, Ramin?
What up?
Well, I can jump in and talk a little bit about the founding of the Justice League because I had the good fortune of being at the first meeting along with Carmen, with Linda Sarsour, with Angelo Pinto, Marvin Bing, Raymond Santana was there. I'm probably forgetting it. Jules was there because Jules always there in the background. So I met Carmen shortly before that, through Marvin, actually. Like, she was talking about building this nationwide movement. I was like, this chick is dope. I'm trying to be involved. And then Eric Garner was killed by police, and Carmen put the call out. She Actually, I think you might have put the call out for Justice League before that and had like a bigger vision, because I remember the first Justice League meeting being so inspiring. Like, it was mind blowing to me, like all of the ideas that were sourced in this meeting, all of the vision, all of the energy. And I left there just like so excited and really committed to trying to be part of that. And since then, We organized some really big marches in New York City. We really moved the needle on police accountability, had laws changed, had policies changed, had like increased transparency for the police department in New York City. We marched from New York City to Washington, D.C. A couple of the folks who were on that march are on this call too. Um, and ultimately, we ended up organizing the Women's March in Washington, D.C. in 2017. And one of the through lines through all of these things is just the commitment to being solutions oriented, right? Like, so it's one thing if you have a great analysis to identify the problem, but like, what are we going to do? What's the vision? What's the world that we're building? And that's something that I've always really valued about this space, as well as which many of y'all have already noted, just really seeing like the human family, right? Like my identity, I grew up in Appalachia. I'm a white person, like, but I'm here, and if I can like get down with this like analysis that centers the experiences that Black and brown people are having in this country, then I'm welcome in the space. And so that's been something that's been really meaningful to me. I learned how to get arrested for nonviolent civil disobedience. So that's like a really proud thing for me now. I've done that several times with many of the folks on this call. And yeah, it's been life changing, like folks have said. So I'm no longer in New York these days. I'm in New Orleans. So I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that today is the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And this city is, an exemplar of resilience, and also how Black and brown communities shouldn't have to be so resilient. More support and resources are needed. And I think about the Gathering for Justice when I'm on road trips driving through Alabama and I pass that sign for EPS. I think about y'all every time. But one of the things I want to close with is just, oh, and also I wore the Barrios Unidos shirt today. That was like not even intentional, but shout out to Nane Alejandras and the Barrios Unidos fam. But the thing I want to wrap up with, one of the things that I learned, Mr. Belafonte also was sort of like, this singer, this cultural figure. Like I didn't know much about his activism before I became part of the Gathering for Justice. But one of the things that I learned through the process is how much he sacrificed for the movement. And I really want to see people doing that in these days. All of us have different things that we can sacrifice. Not everybody has like the money or the platform to sacrifice like he did, but we can all take small steps. And that is one thing, that problem solving spirit is one thing that has always been encouraged within me in the Gathering. So thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me to this. And I'll put the stick back down in the middle.
Hey, Cassidy,
I could jump.
quick question though, Cassidy. What was the dude name who blew off his face in Appalachia with the shotgun and videotaped it? Do you remember him?
I do, but I don't remember his name.
That was from one of the videos that remember when we went to Appalachia, they showed us he was I think under the influence
Of meth, yeah.
a lot of the folks that we had worked with shared about their experience as like poor white folks now having to work in prisons and oversee like Black and brown folks from other states, and just the I think the epidemic around meth, right, in those areas, and how a lot of people just didn't really understand how poor white folks were also dealing with some of the same issues as us in our neighborhoods. And so there was kind of like the parallels that were made that really allowed us to look beyond our issue and really build that interconnectedness. I just kind of want to go back because I want to share why Justice League was created. The Gathering had been this national movement to end child incarceration. And one of the things that at the time that Mr. Belafonte brought us together, the language racial justice had not been created, right? I think racial justice is more like a philanthropic. We were just kind of like building in different communities, and and so like when people talk about racial justice and they're in the philanthropic world, I'm like, oh, Mr. B really created that space for us to connect outside of our communities. But Justice League was really because resources weren't necessarily available to the work that we did, right? A lot of times I was pulling out my credit card to pay for meeting space or for food for us to come together. And I felt like, our greatest asset in any movement is our human asset. Resources come and go, strategic granting comes and goes. Philanthropy is consistently shifting the way in the world. And I didn't, as you all know, Mr. Belafonte never wanted us to determine our mission based on foundations. And so I was like, who's this chick who's Palestinian with a hijab who got a Brooklyn accent? Oh, her name is Linda Sarsour. You know what I'm saying? Or who's this other chick who like waves her hands when she's, speaking from Harlem? Oh, that's Tamika Mallory. And so I thought, what does it look like for us to really come together like Voltron, right? And bring all our gifts together and make real change. And so, the money came and went, but the movement didn't, and the work didn't. It kept getting bigger because we had more folks coming in. And I think we were really able to own the agenda. Mr. Belafonte would always say the agenda is to find the agenda. And we were making the agenda when we stepped into the room because of the fact that we had a Cassidy who could craft the comms, right? We weren't waiting for somebody to come and do it for us. We had artists like Karis who was making the anthem for us. We had a Brandy and a Ramin who were like documentarians. So like when you're able to like really see the value in people, then you're able to give them a role, and that's how you make real change. So I just wanted to preface why Justice League was created. And y'all are honorary, y'all OG Gathering for Justice folks are honorary Justice League members. We talk about y'all all the time. We like, y'all don't even know. We be like, Kevin's like, give me everybody's info. I'm like, damn, like Kevin, you just asked me today. I got kids. I gotta write a report. I gotta write a grant. I gotta meet with Michaela and Nathan. But like it's all love, and so we're really happy that y'all showed up for us. But I'm gonna go back on mute and let folks continue.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. Hi, everyone. Michaela Perez, community organizer with the Gathering for Justice, calling in from Oxnard, California. And really, I think I came onto the Gathering for Justice a couple of years ago. And really, it's the continuation of the intergenerational work that Mr. B has really laid the footprint for. So I have the honor to be rooted here in community in Oxnard and continue the work and legacy of Mr. B. As I mentioned, I was brought on to continue youth programming and establish the Youth Organizers United program, otherwise known as the U program here. And I think the beautiful part is that when we talk about purpose and we talk about being rooted in community, this program is exactly that. As we know, Carmen Perez Jordan, our CEO and president, is from Oxnard. And so being able to continue to pass down the blueprint of community organizing, of activism, of civic engagement, and really exposing young people, the next generation of leaders, and exposing them to these opportunities to transform systems is really the work that I get to do. And I think it has not only, reshaped the lives of community members here, but it also has reshaped the lives of many leaders in the community who look at this work and understand why it's important to bring in young people and to have them at the table, creating policy change, running programming, engaging with other youth that oftentimes are left out of the conversation. And so really proud to be a part of the Gathering for Justice, even though I came on a couple of years ago. I have always been exposed to the Gathering for Justice for a very long time, whether it's watching the work online or watching the work through Carmen Perez Jordan. But really, as Carmen mentioned, the Gathering for Justice has been tied to so many different inner solidarity movements, whether it's our Indigenous rights movement, our labor movement. And really that's when I think about these movements, I often think about the legacy and the history of Oxnard as well, being a primarily agricultural community, a community still impacted by many of the injustices that we're seeing all throughout the country right now. And really, this is just a pivotal time to really, continue the work. And I'm really proud to be a part of the Gathering for Justice to ensure that, we're passing down the legacy of Mr. B in this community, and ensuring that young people in this community know their rights, know their history, and are at the forefront of demanding change in not just this community, but at the state and national level. And as a person that was raised in this community, it's really just a beautiful thing to be able to also pave the way and open doors for as many young people in this community to ensure that Mr. B's legacy is continued, and all of the things that we have in terms of strategic organizing, Kingian nonviolence, and all of the power mapping and all of the ways in which we engage young people continues. So really, again, honored to speak and to showcase some of the work that we're continuing to do here in Oxnard.
I could jump in real quick. My name is Matt Graham. I'm a born and raised New Yorker, and I joined Justice League in 2016. I lived in Texas for about 4 years, and I joined once I moved back. I came back from grad school, and at the time, I really wanted to join some sort of social justice or criminal justice organization. While I was in Texas, I saw, what was happening with the Eric Garner case and Mike Brown case. So I felt that need to be a part of some sort of social justice community. So when I moved back, I reached out, and like Brandy said, I applied, went through an incredibly thorough vetting process, and I really appreciated that, because I was in a room with so many incredible folks. I feel like I learned so much. Being around everybody, the energy, just the passion. I think one of the proudest moments I have from being with Justice League is when we protested. I think it was the winter of 2018 or 2019 at NBC. There was a power outage, and when you think of community organizing, you think of the long game, but it was just so incredible. Just being out there. We was out there for about 2 days, 2 or 3 days in the cold in winter. And when the moment they cut on the lights, it was just such a emotional moment, because we saw that, just the power of people, just the power of organizing, and how impactful that was. And I think that's one of the most valuable things I learned, just the power of people. Also, just the importance of funding organizations like Justice League, funding community organizing work, especially in this political climate. We have so many administrations, so many organizations trying to just veer funding away for organizations like that. So, just the importance of funding and just supporting organizations like us.
Yeah, Mac, when you talk about NBC, you got me thinking about, I don't know, do you remember when the incarcerated individuals started banging and letting us know that they knew that we were there for them?
Mm-hmm.
That right there, for me, that moment was like, we really are making an impact. And it felt great for the folks that we were advocating for to know and understand that. And they weren't able to communicate with language, right? With verbal language, but they were communicating with us with,
just banging on windows.
Yeah.
And then once the lights came on, it was just so it was just so emotional. Yeah.
Yo, I want to shout out Nora, and I want to shout out Elandria, who's no longer with us, who was our sister and comrade. Y'all, I know y'all getting serious and talking about the work, but I just want to say Mr. B was my biggest hater. Me and this dude this dude was such a hater. I want y'all to know, everybody who spoke about him, about the Justice League, oh my God. I love Mr. B, but that dude used to be the biggest hater in the world, and I digress, and I'm gonna pass it to y'all.
Oh, y'all gotta understand why he hated on CJ, because CJ was like always attracting all the women. So Mr. B was like, yeah, no, no, CJ, always coming for CJ.
He was, and I didn't want to be a leader. I did not want to be a leader. I just wanted to do the work, because Cause I'm like, nope, because as soon as you leave, they try
Same.
to tear you down. And he told me, he got me around CT Vivian and all the elders. He said, you a leader, so shit, I get off the pot. And so I guess I've been on the pot for 20 years, y'all. But oh my God, that dude used to, that's why I'm great, because of that nigga right there, boy. I'm done. I'm done. Keep going, y'all. Keep rocking out.
I just want to say that like we have different iterations of Justice League members. So we got the folks who were in the meeting, who were in the room 2013, 2014. We you know, these new the newer iteration of Justice League got vetted very aggressively. And it was because at that moment we had already gone through BLM, we had gone through COINTELPRO, we had been trained by the Black Panther Party to kind of tighten up our group because people were infiltrating within JL. And so like when you hear these folks talking about we went through this process, they went through the process. Like it had like Karis's face, everybody's face. But like a lot of it had to do, you know, talking about our elders because of what our elders went through, right? Mr. Belafonte went through some of that stuff too. And I remember when he sat me down, I don't know, CJ, if you were in the room, but we were in New York. It was like a long time ago. I didn't know what COINTELPRO was. I didn't know what infiltrating was. And so I had no reference to it. So I never thought it would happen to us. And it kind of kept happening. But we ain't gonna go there. I just kind of, you know, because these folks are like, and then we went through this vetting process. I just want y'all to know at some point we had to make sure that folks were like-hearted, you know, because there's a lot of folks that came into our space trying to be famous, trying to, you know, uh, uh, take us down from within. And then by some of these folks, we had to like just kind of like, yeah, nah, we need social security, we need addresses, we need grandparent social security, we need medical records, we need a psychological evaluation. We like we went in, not it wasn't that bad, but all that to say, just wanted to kind of share that. And Mr. B was, I can attest, like Mr. B was CJ's biggest hater, but I think it was because he was pushing CJ to see himself as something different, right? I think oftentimes we want to kind of like be on the sideline and do the work and not get the credit, not bring too much attention to ourselves, because we know the harm, and he saw something in you, and he was always going to remind you of that. And he was also going to hate on you and the ladies. So like, I mean, he was a ladies' man. He wasn't trying to have you take that from him, CJ. Like, come on.
Yo, so, too, can I just jump in real quick? And you talked about like the vetting process and the iterations of that being, you know, there EPS in 05, and there was a different kind of vetting because it was more, it was less maybe legalistic. It wasn't social security numbers, but it was attitude and disposition. It was did you have a humble spirit, or were you an arrogant, you know, kind of self-aggrandizing, looking to make a name? And those people kind of got vetted and moved out. You know what I mean? Even though they were still there, they were moved out. And you know, it was a relationship. And I know everyone on this call and everyone that's probably watching, whatever, like understands the importance of relationship. First with self, because you can't be authentic with others, and if you're not authentic with yourself. But then also a lot of that authenticity is being vulnerable. You know what I mean? And being vulnerable, to be honest, being vulnerable to bring people into your space that are not like you, to know that the world is bigger than where you came from. So I don't want to get deep into that. But I think there was a different kind of vetting when we were at, I think it was Epson. It was like the big house, and everyone didn't get a chance to go to the big house on top of the hill. Like some people had to stay down, and, you know, because of energy. And I learned so much about, and I'll use the term, vetting energy, what I allowed in my space, what I received in my spirit, in my heart, in my mind. I learned so much of that in my time with the gathering, and it's just grown and continue. I share those things. I talk about, you know, a lot of these stories, CJ, Carmen, Malia, just we slept on Malia's floor in DC, like literally on the floor, right? Um, but it was life changing, and it continues to be life evolving for all of us. And it's, again, I said it before, but I love seeing the iterations of people, that are a part of this. And then, like Karis, I don't know you, but I think you were on like 4 years ago when we had a session. And when I saw your face, I was, oh no, like sis, you know what I mean? It's a thing that you will have for the rest of your life if you allow it to be in your space, to be in your heart. And so anyway, I'm not done, but I'll be done for a moment. Shut up, CJ. I'm just like you. There's something in the CJ.
Hey everyone, it's Karis. So, CJ, thank you so much for that laugh. So, your story actually is going to make me tell my Justice League gathering story, maybe kind of like in reverse. I was getting double vetted. I did come in during that. I came in during that vetting process that Mac and Brandy went through. But what even Carmen at the time did not know is that I was sent to the Gathering Justice League by my Nana. My Nana was a former Panther in Harlem. And at the time, she was still working at National Action Network with Al Sharpton. And when I came home from college, I'm an artist, and she's like, if you're gonna make meaningful art, you need to go follow Tamika and that Mexican girl. And that's what she said. That's what she called Carmen, because she had watched Tamika grow. She had watched Tamika grow up from Nan. And I'm like, but I come from a family of activists. Like, why can't you just teach me? She was like, no, go there with them young folks and let them put you through. You got things to learn or whatever. And for me, the Gathering Justice League was a continuation of what I grew up as a movement kid. Like, I'm at my mom's house right now. Just went to go see my Nana. She's in a nursing home earlier today. But I'm sitting in my mom's room where I filled out my Justice League application. And we had to write essays and all these things. And I remember filling it out, and I'm like, oh my God. And my mother walks in the room and she's like, what are you complaining about? And she looks at the prompt questions and she's like, yeah, get that done. Go ahead. Like, so I'm getting double vetted on both sides, which these guys, they didn't even know about until after I joined and I went through the process. And then Carmen's not my biggest hater, but boy, is she my biggest pusher. She will not let me compartmentalize. We were doing stuff for Meek Mill, and we were trying to free Meek Mill, and some things were going on. And in passing, she found out that I was going to the Grammys. I'm a ghostwriter. And so that year I was going to the Grammys for the artist that I had written for, and she found out in passing. And she was just like, oh, so you're not just a policy person. And I was like, well, no, but I'm here because my Nana said I needed to study and I needed to learn. And she's like, no, 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 no. You will do all the things. And then she told Mr. B about me and how I need to write the song. And I was like, ma'am, I came here to research. I came here to research, and I came here because my Nana said I needed to go to school. What are you doing? And she's like, oh my God, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. He's barking. Can you guys please keep him quiet? So she's like, no, you won't compartmentalize, because here I'm going to teach you how to be your whole self. And it wasn't until years later that I understood what my Nana meant for me, why she wanted me here, and why she wanted me around these folks, why she wanted me around. It wasn't enough that, so what? I mean, I grew up in spaces with Dick Gregory and Uncle Jesse Jackson, all the things. And you need to go and you need to figure out what your own politics are. You need to figure out how you use your talents to figure out the type of world we need to live in. And MDC, as Mac was talking about, MDC was very emotional for us as we were there, just trying to get the heat, just water. MDC. So MDC prison it was the winter time. I think it was maybe 2018 or something like that. They did not have any power. They had lost power, so they didn't have any running water. They didn't have any heat. They didn't have any lights. And we got wind, and like Carmen says, we come together like Voltron, right? And so we got a call. Well, I got a call. I think Carmen, you were in California at the time, and then she had flew out. But we got the call, and she was like, we need to go to MDC. They don't have any power. That's inhumane. It doesn't matter if you're incarcerated. These are your rights. And we did. We went out there. We were there for about like 2 or 3 nights. And the first day that I was out there, tensions got bad and got escalated. And we ended up getting tear gassed while we were there. And it was one of our young people, Luis. I just wanted to make sure he was under 18 at the time. I just wanted to make sure he did not get harmed. And so I just was using my body to be like, get behind me, let's get out. But I still got hit with the tear gas and everything. And who was Mr. Foy from the Nan, Kristen, he was there. And word got back to my Nana and some Nan folks, like your granddaughter, she got tear gassed. And Kristen came into the RV that we was in. He said, yeah, your grandmother knows your face was all over the roof. You got tear gas. And so she said to me, you finally got your stripes. And then that was the end of it. My family was just like, oh, that happened? Fine. And so you'll be home. And it was just like, moving right along. Did you guys get your deliverables? Did they turn them lights on? Well, you're not leaving. My other grandmother on my other side, who is the president of NCNW in Queens, she came and brought us food and clothes and was like, all right, you're staying out here. And like, that's it. So I feel like the gathering and Justice League and being cultivated under Carmen, it's a full circle for me. It is important. Even when you raise your kids and you plant those seeds, sometimes you're not sure how they're going to end up when you walk away from it out in the world. And I still have my grandmother, my Nana, and my mom. You know, my mom is very overprotective of these people on the call. When we have things outside, she's only 5 feet, but she's regulating everybody. All of them are her kids. And it's just a full circle because it lets you know that it's not just you out in the world. I do have big shoulders to stand on. As my son says, I don't have a right to do nothing. Legacy is important. My Nana and others, Mr. B and all those folks, they fought sometimes with different and less tools than we have. And so how could I not? My family, I was fortunate enough to go off and to go to college and learn these things, all these things. Now I need to come back and, leave my own breadcrumbs. And that was another thing I learned. Mr. B said every generation is responsible for their own revolution, but the elders leave you breadcrumbs. It's not enough that I can't just walk through life with my Nana's breadcrumbs. Those are her breadcrumbs. I can use them to help me get to where I need, but I need to be leaving my own breadcrumbs for the next generation if we are ever going to get to liberation and reparations for our people and land back for our people. And so I appreciate the vetting process that Justice League took us through. Also, our group have a really special love. Mac walked my mom down the aisle at my wedding. Carmen's sons were in my wedding. Like it's a family. Cassidy tore up the dance floor at the reception. It was just beautiful. It was all of Justice League in Jamaica at my destination wedding. Beautiful. So I really appreciate this family. And I feel really lucky that I had a solid foundation, but that also I came across this family to help me cultivate and continue it. And we're family. And so happy 20th anniversary to the gathering. And everyone, let's just make sure we're leaving our own breadcrumbs for the next generation.
You better go ahead, Karis. You better go ahead. This is a good place, I think, for me to jump in. You said so many things that resonated with me. Everyone has said so many things that resonated with me. I mean, there's a few people on this call I didn't know very well, but I've heard so many incredible things as, let's just call them, the next generation of Justice League that came through after I moved to New York and I came back. And I remember there was a point when I met everyone for the first time, I was looking at everyone sideways, like, who's this? Who are these new folks? And I'm so protective over this family, because that's what it is a family. And I was, kind of putting little tests out there, which everyone passed. Everyone on this call, that was the new generation, passed. But I definitely had some tests when I was meeting folks in DC for the first time, and other folks, because there's really nothing that I wouldn't do for this family on this call. And I remember so many incredible Carmen moments. But how I met Carmen, I was a little bit of a stalker. I was a little nuts, but it worked for me. I had a long career in PR and communications in the corporate brand world. And when I was living in New York, I remember I was just protesting on my own. I was in the streets. I would talk to people and like, where are the leaders? Who do I like? Who can I learn from? What can I do? How can I contribute what I'm really good at to the movement, to the work? And then somebody had sent me, there was some random guy in Union Square that used to send me, he would send me like protest flyers. He was like, go to this, go to this, go to that. And I saw something that said Justice League. And I said, who the is Justice League? But then I started like going down the Instagram rabbit hole of like, oh, they seem to know what they're doing. I'm kind of sick of being out here by myself, not knowing what I'm doing, leaving work, and I would just be in the streets. And so then somehow Carmen and I ended up in the same room. I tell this story a lot, actually, in whenever I'm speaking on panels or I'm doing something in my current profession. I tell this origin story a lot because this origin story dictated who I was to become and who I am. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful to everyone who's done this work long before I could. I'm so grateful to everyone who welcomed me into a space where I felt like I was coming from an industry where I could tell anybody to paint the roof pink and they'd be like, what shade, Lindsay? Of course we'll do. Oh, I'm Lindsay, by the way. Nice to meet any of you that I don't know. My name is Lindsay. I currently live in LA, but I used to live in New York. And then I came into this space where I didn't know anything. And I was just listening and watching and learning. And so Carmen and I met because she and I were at this screening for a Ferguson documentary, and she stood up and she very lovingly critiqued what was happening in the film and brought up some really good points. And then she said her name, and I turned around and it was like a creeper probably in front of everyone, like, wait, you're Carmen? You, the founder of Justice League? I've been looking for you. And she probably was like, okay. And the rest was history. And I remember showing up at the gathering offices, I think it was like Christmas morning, right after Walter Scott was murdered. And we just came with a bunch of presents because there was a toy drive that was happening. And in that moment, I was like, listen, this is what I'm good at. I've been in PR and communications for almost, at the time, I don't know, it was like 12, 15 years or something. I'm like, I'm really good with media and words, just put me to work. And then fast forward, I had only known this family, I think, a couple weeks. And then the March to Justice was just born because we were all out to dinner and I followed them at a protest. And then afterwards, we all had dinner, and then everyone started talking about it. And I was like, I don't even know y'all, but sure, yeah, I'll go to DC with you. I'll figure out what my role is supposed to be. Okay. I had a lot of talks with God about it. Like, should I? And the answer was always yes, 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 yes. And in doing that, I discovered so much of who I was to become. It's what led me to get into diversity, equity, inclusion work, which I'm still in, God willing, despite everything that's happening in the world. And I remember there's a couple things I said. I would never move back to California, which I did. I would never be in entertainment, which I am. And I realized in all the things that I learned and just understanding Mr. B's role in the entertainment industry, there's no way that I could do what I'm doing now without having started my journey in Justice League and with all these incredible humans in the Gathering for Justice. And so I thank you so much for helping me find myself and find my lane, as Carmen says. And now I'm literally, what I do for a living is to help other people like Mr. B figure out their lane and their role in the world, and also try to dismantle some things from the inside. And I once upon a, there was 2 times I was offered really high positions and I was like, no, I want to go work for a nonprofit. I'm going to be in the streets. Like, I was just I was like, what was that movie with the dinosaurs? The one that everybody loved, the Jurassic Park. I was the baby dinosaur that the first time you break the egg, they're just, they're angry at everybody, they're mad. And then Karma would just calm me down. And if people were questioning what we were doing, especially if they were trying to be like, what you're doing is, whatever they're talking smack or whatever, she would just meet them from a place of love. And I'm looking at her like, I'm ready to just like run these people over my car. How do they not understand? And through all the things that she's taught me, I can now help other people be that way. And I don't react that way and I don't respond that way. And I figured out my role. I figured out my role in Justice League. It was part of my job to remind everyone that there was life outside of the struggle too, and that you had to pour into yourself to be able to come back into the movement. I used to force Carmen when neither one of us made any money. I'd be like, girl, let's go to Blockheads. Let's get some $5 margaritas because basically that's what we can afford. So let's go get some shrimp and salsa. But there is a whole life outside of this. And can we also pour into ourselves before pouring into the community? Because if we don't do that, we're not going to survive. I found out if it wasn't for Justice League, I would have never met the father of my daughter. I would have never had my daughter. If it wasn't for Justice League, I probably wouldn't have even thought about becoming a mom. I found out I was pregnant with Justice League. We were in DC. I was with Cassidy in a bookstore in DC during the Women's March, and I blurted out, I'm having a girl. I was only 4 weeks pregnant, hadn't even taken a pregnancy test yet, but it just came to me that while we're doing all of this, that I'm having a little girl, and that's it. And so the level of family that I've never really had is the family that I call my chosen family. And I'm so grateful for that. And the first time Carmen asked me if I was willing to die for the movement, I remember I was like, die? The fuck she talking about die? What you mean I gotta die for this shit? And now, like, I wouldn't even think twice about answering that question or for people on this call, or when I've said that I would literally take a bullet and die for anyone on this call because I see the value and the leadership and what we're all doing. And I'm so proud to see those that have come after us. I'm so proud to see Michaela. Michaela, I'm so proud to see you because I've been around you in non-community organizing spaces, and to see and to watch your campaigns and to watch you win and to see how much you soak up in what you do. I'm so proud of my brother Ramin and my sister Cassidy and people on this call who've been through some stuff where we've all rallied behind them to do everything that we needed to do, and everything that I've learned from both of you and how you still show up centered on love and pushing everything forward. And I know there's other people on this call that I don't know very well, but I'm so proud and I'm so grateful that you've been doing the work that you do so I can continue to learn and continue to do these things. And if it wasn't for you, I would have never found Justice League, and I would have never found my purpose in my life and changed the world in the way that I'm changing it. And so if I can leave one little thing for all of us, and I guess it's just my role and always has been in Justice League, just make sure that you are doing whatever you need to do to pour into yourself, because we are the leaders, we are the chosen, we are the ones who are doing the thing, but we can't do any of it if we don't take care of ourselves. It's okay, Carmen. That's right. That's right. A second chance at life, right? A second chance at life. That came to me as soon as I came on the call and I saw you were here, Cassie. I was like, a second chance at life. That doesn't happen for people who aren't doing incredible work. It could have been over and it wasn't over because of the work that you're doing is revolutionary and it's changing hearts and minds. But more than that, it's healing generations before us and generations after us. We have healed my daughter's generations. We have healed Carmen's son's generations, my nephews. We are healing generations before we even make it. So thank you. I love you. And happy 20th anniversary.
Should I jump in as second chances of life?
You sure, Rob? I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna take my video off because I want y'all to like be in the moment with together. I feel like I'm over here nodding my head and doing all.
Don't. I'm gonna talk some shit, Carmen. So you better not leave. You better leave that speaker on.
What you talking about?
Nah, I'm just talking shit. I'm just doing me. So I came into Justice League a couple years after I had come home from prison. They tried to give me 226 years. And when I came home, I was one of them kids that played in the streets real heavy. I started getting locked up when I was in sixth grade, selling cocaine and marijuana in middle school. And long story short, when I got out of prison, I started an organization called Beach Rhymes Relief. We were doing a lot of organizing for Syria, and I think I met Carmen and Linda at the United Nations in like 2012, possibly. And by early 2013, Carmen had invited me to come to one of Mr. Belafonte's jam sessions or something at the spot on 43rd Street with all the SEIU workers jamming in the auditorium, eating good food, hanging out, drinking, just doing us, right? And I had been, a person that always, kind of I'm just kind of gangster, I guess, a little bit. I like to have fun. I like to, go out and get lit. And we got lit and had an amazing time. And I really connected with these people on a different level with Carmen and Jules and everybody that was there on a different level. And it felt like, okay, this is the type of organizing I want to do. What we're doing for Syria and other stuff with hip hop around the world, like we love it. But I can rock with these folks. So we started talking about the growing up lockdown, which I believe was in 2013. And I was doing a lot of work with Talib at the time, so I brought Talib to it. I brought a bunch of my graffiti artist friends. We did some murals, did a bunch of different things, and I've been doing film for 30 years, so I brought some cameras and just started documenting. And I think that's where I met Suzanne Rostock, and she told me we were talking about documenting stuff, and she was like, "You can't hold history hostage. You need to always keep filming." So I've been filming all this time. I got a lot of footage. We got an amazing docu series that's going to come out at some point. But anyway, getting into Justice League and the Eric Garner murder and Ramarley Graham and Akai Gurley, and it was just like one after another. And we was in the streets, and again, it was very aggressive. It was everybody. It was revolutionary organizing, and people really leaning into it because we were all, personally impacted by this system, by police, by discrimination, marginalization, just every different thing you could think of. We all connected on all those levels, and it was the first time that I got to meet Immortal Technique in person and kick it with him and my son and so many other people that I had really admired growing up, and the type of hip hop that I listened to, and the type of artists that I dealt with. And Tamika and Linda were just so, everybody was just so incredibly powerful, and we was all swiping cards and buying t-shirts and doing 10 different jobs. I think I was filming stuff, making graphics, planning security routes for the march to Washington, doing security late at night. It was just all a whole bunch of Voltron type activity.
Welcome to the movement.
That's right. It was a welcome to the movement situation. And over the years, I think we have all grown incredibly, seeing this next generation of Justice League coming in, Michaela killing it. It's nuts to see, what growth looks like and what water and seeds looks like. And as somebody who has always tried to uplift young people and give them opportunities, it's and somebody that got a film career from doing the same, from people doing the same for me. It's one of those things of like seeing how karma really work, and what a village really looked like. I will say that when it comes down to CJ and the other older G's, when I was sleeping on Carmen's couch, when we was both sleeping on her homegirl and Helica's couch, when we was, houses was getting raided by police and shit was going crazy during all that time, it was y'all that she talked about and just lifted y'all up incredibly. So I know those beginning days of the gathering had to be just a very special bond for that to carry over in those same traditions and the ability to show love just paid forward, right? And then lastly, I will say when it comes to what Cassidy and Karis and Lindsay and everybody else has said about family, this absolutely is a family. When recently I got sick, I lost my legs, I died 3 times, was in the hospital. It was Carmen that came in on that first night and posed as my sister to get the people to wake me, to basically get me to sign the thing that said if I want to live, I got to get my legs cut off, and I want to be resuscitated. And her being like, "You want to live, right?" Yelling at me, to get it done. But when I woke up out of that coma, um, right around Christmas time, it was the Justice League that was in the room along with my family, had locked down all the waiting rooms, had every different prayer circle and every different, just so much universal revolutionary love. That wasn't nobody taking no shit. This man was going to live. He wants to live. And that is something that I will be eternally grateful for. This experience, the knowledge, we all became better organizers, we all became better recruiters, we all became better storytellers, better speakers, vibing off of each other. And of course that came from the vibe of Mr. B, who was one of the most generous people with and I'm sorry, CJ, but with praise around me. You know what I mean? He was very nice to me. Him and his wife, they showed mad love. Suzanne, just the whole team and squad, from beginning to end with the Gathering for Justice, Justice League, has been nothing but universal revolutionary love. And I am eternally grateful for being a part of it.
Hey, Rami.
Yo,
Yo,
let me
Okay.
just say, the foundation always had extracurricular activities, you know what I'm saying? That
my
you had
G.
to, we wasn't just getting to a higher level with talking, okay, and sitting in a meeting. That
Right.
was not even the real. It was like, all right, now what we doing? You know what I mean? And
I
we
got
got friends
video of
all
Carmen
over.
breakdancing in the snow after we was lit
Yeah,
on a happy
trust.
hour.
We had to escape from situations where it
Yes.
was not acceptable and find, alternative locations off the premises from the elders who I'm pretty sure were sneaking out too. Because one time we almost had a situation. And I was like, nah, they ain't gonna say nothing. I was like, think about where we just ran into each other.
Exactly.
It's a mutually agreed upon departure from the situation. But yeah, no, it's always been a part of it.
Yes, sir.
And man, you've been through a lot. I just want to send some love to you. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Sharing,
that,
sharing,
Shaka. I
sharing your
appreciate you.
story. Yeah,
Yes,
real.
sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, Ramin, me and Shaka was doing we were signing folks in at the convention, right, in Oakland for the gathering retreat. And
Yeah.
this was the first time Mr. B met my son. My son was like the community baby. I was the only person who had a kid in the movement at the time. So Mr. B gonna come to me and he said, CJ, now I can believe all that shit you be talking about since I met your son. Like, you don't create a child. Like I said, so you ain't believe nothing that I was saying. So you gotta meet dude first. I said,
Right.
all right, man.
That sound just like Mr. B for sure.
I was going to say, to Tucker's point, that's what the big house was about at F. Side note, never mind.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
it's always another story. I mean, everything didn't just end up the way it was. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, y'all over here, we over here. There's a reason. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
nah, it's just great to hear all this history. You
Yeah.
know, and Lindsay, I appreciate you sharing all that too. That was some real good stuff right there.
I
So
see.
what's next? What we gonna do about this bullshit we dealing with right now, though? You know what I mean? We got about 15 minutes. What y'all what's really hood?
So, I mean, look, we in the thick of things right now. We're preparing for a 20th anniversary gala. I see Chris Arroyo and Nathan Castillo on here. I just want to see if they want to say something really quick. There's also a Tay Gutierrez. So do you all want to say something?
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see some of your faces. Raw. I'm so glad to see you. Man, just hearing all the incredible stories, and I saw on social media, I was like, wait a minute, I gotta give my flowers to Carmen. um, I think, for those that don't know, I had the pleasure of being a part of, Karis was sharing that group of individuals who got vetted twice. It was a real moment. We had to earn our stripes for sure. um, and, we eventually I started working with Carmen, but similar to Lindsay, I did, there was the Gatekeepers of Truth, and it was the first time that I was introduced to Carmen, and it was fascinating to see another Latina in the space that was fighting for justice, and I just craved her mentorship because similar to you, Lindsay, I did stalk Carmen for a while. Um, and I was just like, I'm eager. I want to learn. I want to support. I don't know what I need to do, but I'm ready. And she had introduced me to Justice League, and then she gave me the phenomenal opportunity to work under her. And throughout this time, there's just so much knowledge and wisdom that I will forever share outside of these walls, and always uplift Carmen and the Justice League family. I get to see Cassidy at least once a year when I make my way to New Orleans. But it's so true. I feel like Carmen definitely has always pushed me to be my very best. Um, Sometimes forced me to be my very best. And I've gained so much wisdom. And it was funny because the other days I was talking to somebody, and we were just talking about elders in the movement. And Mr. B, Carmen, I feel like Carmen and Mr. B had this very special bond where when they're both together in the room, they have like this weird riddles that they it's like subliminal messages, but it's meant for a purpose. And one of it that really stuck to me, even to this day, is like, who are you? And I remember looking at Carmen like, he does remember who I am, right? Like, do we know? Like, and he's like, I know who you are, but I don't need your resume. I need you to know who you are. Do you know who you are? Um, and then I had to really understand like who you are in the world is not identified by what you pose, but the echoes you leave in others, the truth you live by, and the courage with which you shape, the world. And that's something that Justice League was able to do, was really change the narrative, push out accountability and transparency, and being able to do that under you, Carmen. I'm forever grateful. You know how much I love you. Although I'm not talking to you every day, I don't see you every day, know that I love you, and I'm always here to support JL. It's always great to be in existence and in space with you guys.
Oh, love you too. I see. I laughed because CJ, I put on the message. Sometimes we become our elders, CJ. I started being like, you know, asking this. I started sounding like Mr. B. It takes me now 4 hours to tell one story the way it took him to answer one question. I did an interview the other day. The guy was like, could we make the answers a little bit shorter? I was like, well, I got to give you a historical analysis. Oh my God. We sometimes become our elders, boy. But I see Nathan on here. If you want to say something, I see my son on here. We want to give the floor to folks before we end. And then just remind folks, we are celebrating our 20, even though today is our official anniversary, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary gala in New York City, October 13. It's called We're Not Done. So want to welcome everybody to join us. But Nathan, my son.
Yeah, I can jump in right now. I would say this meeting for me has been more just kind of in awe of everyone. So for those that don't know me, my name is Nathan Castillo. I work with Michaela here in Oxnard, born and raised as well. So I come from a long lineage of advocates from the city of Oxnard. And I'm finishing up my rookie season, for lack of a better term, with the Gathering. And geez, like the amount of spaces and the amount of stories that I've heard about the past 20 years is insane. And it's been an honor to be a part of this legacy and to continue the work moving forward. I love working within my own community, seeing the folks that look just like me, helping them move along. That's been one of my greatest achievements and sources of pride for the past year. And it's really nice to see that this isn't just a brand new theme and topic for this organization, right? This is something that's been here with us from the start. And I'm just honored to be here as well. But yeah, youngest as well. So not only am I a rookie in terms of how long I've been with the org, but I'm also serving as one of the younger ones too. So I'm hoping to carry on the legacy that you guys are doing. Yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it back over.
My son.
Well, I guess that makes it on me. I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I'm actually out in the Bahamas trying to just rejuvenate and just get my mind back right. But it's good to see so many of you that, people that we started with and the new, people who will carry on the torch of the Gathering. It's a brother and sisterhood for me. It was pretty much my introduction into this work. Carmen took me to my first rally, and we did that for it was Eric Gardner. We were working inside the detention center. I never forget it. And we were working with the youth in the detention center, and we walked out and we found out that Eric Gardner had been choked. And I remember she said, we got to do a rally. And that was the first time I ever been to a rally. And it was 100,000 people out there, and we sat in the middle of the street, blocking the highway, going across the bridge. And that's when I really knew I wanted to do this work, and it's been my path and part of what it is that I'm sent here to do ever since. Many of you have been there on the front lines. We've marched, we've cried, we've done everything together. I see Cassidy, I see Lindsay, I see Ramin, people who've been here pretty much from the beginning. So just knowing that this is the anniversary, Mr. B, I remember just sitting there, Mr. B used to just say things that just would have me in awe, just sitting in the office. And he would always say something that was profound that I would have to take back and just add to my arsenal, and it was a privilege for me to be able to create the I Don't Have the Right to Do Nothing in honor of him as they celebrated him, and saying it on the stage at the Apollo Theater was one of the great things for me. But just, it's been so many moments that I can bring in and I'll probably start crying, but we've been through the best and the worst together, and just to know that y'all still carrying on the torch. And like you said, we're not done. We continue to do this work. The agenda was to find the agenda, and we continue to find the agenda. So I just wanted to let y'all know that I love you. To the ones who I haven't met, who are carrying on, continue, understand that there are shoulders of giants that you stand on, and just stand tall and understand this work is not, you don't call on this work calls on you.
Thank you, brother. Happy birthday to the Gathering for Justice. 20 years. We're gonna get in the lit era. But I just want to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon, this evening, to share how the gathering has shaped you, how Mr. Belafonte's leadership has touched you, and the work continues. We're not done. Gathering for Justice 20th anniversary gala happening October 13. But the legacy lives in all of us. There's many stories. I kind of feel we need to do a film or write a book about the Gathering and Justice League, all our stories, to remind people that there's a lane for them, and that no matter how difficult this work gets, we got each other, we got us, right? And we got there's something profound about what the elders went through, but they passed the torch, and in the spirit of that, I think many of us do the work in our own way. We're continuing to train, we're continuing to organize, we're continuing to write lyrics for justice, communications that represents our communities. And so I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for joining. I love y'all deeply, 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 deeply. And this was great. I want to give a shout out to Jules Hoffenberg, who's on the team, as well as Kevin Hunt, who put this together. Teamwork makes the dream work. We might be small, but we mighty. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Love y'all.
Love you. Let's stay connected, family.
Yes, peace, everybody. See you in October. We're gonna get lit.
Where's the after party of the party?
That's right.
House.
There it is. Come on through. I got room.
All right,
Y'all be
y'all.
safe.
Thank you. Love y'all.
All right.